It's a hot summer day in June of 1979. The NBA world has just seen the SuperSonics obliterate the Blitz in that year's finals. Kobe Bryant was 2 months away from turning 1, and the NBA's Board of Governors met to discuss a major problem with the league at the time: dwindling popularity. TV ratings were so low, CBS was airing playoff games on tape delay after late night news. Arenas were regularly half empty. In this meeting, the governors were about to come up with a solution that, initially, seemed like it could probably be a quick fix. To bring some fresh hype, the league decided to adopt the three-point line on a one-year trial basis, but this was done in desperation. The reason why there was a trial basis was that the league was so skeptical, and later on, many players and teams thought the line was a gimmick. As the NBA evolved rapidly, especially in the early 80s with Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, the reputation of the three-point line started to recover. Larry Bird influenced his popularity, and those same teams which used to view the line as a desperation heave were now using it as an essential strategy. Fast forward a few more three-point pioneers later, and today we arrive at Stephen Curry, who speaks for himself. But who was the absolute genesis of the three-pointer? Who was the first player ever to take one and hit it? All evolutions start somewhere, so stick around as we dive into the ocean. After 3 decades of experimentation, including the fact that a short-lived league called the ABL, which stood for the American Basketball League, implemented a three-point line in 1961, years before the ABA and NBA, when the stars aligned in 1979, the line wasn't seeming like just a gimmick like we said earlier. Most coaches believed that if you had to rely on outside shooting, you were simply a bad team trying to play catch-up. Those coaches warned players that if they took a three-pointer early in the possession, they'd be set to warm the bench. Many peeps criticized the three-point line, especially notable Celtics figure Red Auerbach, who stated, "We don't need it. I say, leave our game alone." When summer training camp happened ahead of the 1979-80 season, most teams treated the line like it wasn't there. Reports came out suggesting that players didn't even spend time practicing the shot, and a mindset grew across the league. Why take a 30% shot from 24 feet when we can get a 50% shot at the rim? Really, the only people in the league who were actually ecstatic for the change was players who had previously played in the NBA, where they were accustomed to a three-point line for years, and thought it was about damn time the NBA brought it. If you go past the teams and all that stuff, and go to the fans, some people were legitimately excited the NBA was bringing the three-point tee. During the 1979-80 preseason, the three-point line didn't change the scoreboard that much. The more critics focused on despising the shot, the worse its impact got early on. Players felt the extra distance the line was away from the normal jump shot wasn't worth it. It was basically like a different zip code for them. Because they hadn't trained their leg muscles for said distance, they were using too much arm on the shot, and thus, the flat, line drive misses there were. All of this criticism made it seem like the three-point line was only going to be yet another failed basketball experiment. As the preseason turned into the first game of the regulars, it wasn't to be expected the very first field goal was going to be a three-pointer. Several games tip off the new season, but the first of the batch was the Celtics vs. Rockets on October 12, 1979. Larry Bird vs. Moses Malone. This game started 35 minutes earlier than the second, and it was hyped for Bird's debut. Moses Malone had won last season's MVP, so that further made this matchup more exciting. As the fans gathered across the arena, preparations were finishing up, and then the players came out of their locker rooms. The question of who was going to be the first to make a three-pointer wasn't in most people's minds. The game started as usual. For the first several minutes, nothing notable happened. Everybody was just thinking about Larry Bird, and the crowd cheered when he got his very first bucket. First quarter progressed, and one of the Celtics' key players, guard Chris Ford, started to feel like shooting from 3PT. With 3 minutes and 48 seconds left, Ford got into position and went near the line. He then prepared his jump shot, threw the ball, and synced it. If you randomly saw this footage with no context as a modern casual NBA fan, you'd expect the fans to be excited that Ford made history. It would seem natural for you to assume. But when Ford made that three, the crowd didn't exactly go wild. They just cheered a little bit, just like a regular shot. The arena wasn't going loud. What most people saw on TV instead was a zoom up to Chris Ford, with the referee in the background accepting the shot. This is where the footage ends. Later in the game, Houston's Rick Barry, who was in his final season, attempted the game's second three-pointer and also made it. Barry had prior ABA experience, so it was no wonder he was able to hit it. This wasn't the only game where three-pointers were attempted that night. With the Bullets facing off the 76ers, Kevin Greavy made one, and for a few days, it was believed he was the guy who made the first ever three-pointer. However, the NBA later verified the times of all of the games on the 12th and concluded the Bullets game happened before the Celtics game. In the Lakers vs. Clippers game, none of the players of the court attempted a three. The Celtics vs. Rockets game ended with Boston winning by 8 points, 114 to 106. Moses Malone dropped 31 points and 16 rebounds. Nate Archibald continued his playmaking excellence, dishing out 11 assists. Dave Cowens had 11 and 13. Cedric Maxwell had 22 and 7, and Bird got 14 and 10. All of the Celtics starters had 2-digit scoring outputs. Chris Ford would go on to increase his volume of three-point attempts. He had 2 games where he attempted 7 of them and made 5. an impressive 71%. Ford averaged 42.7% from the three-point line this season, attempting 2.2 threes per game. Once the NBA was able to verify the times of the games, the NBA made a press release crediting him as the genesis of all three-point attempts. It's not clear what exact time when both Gravy and Ford's baskets respectively occurred. Because the first three-pointer was in the first game, it helped legitimize the line immediately. If it even was only a few games later, the validation would have been significantly lower and critics would capitalize even more, turning the narrative of what was called a gimmick to something that was toxic. And also, this three-pointer wasn't forgotten in the sands of time. Because Boston is a big market team, it allowed Chris Ford to be in the spotlight. Ford was a respected veteran, having played for 6 years at this point. Without the three-pointer happening immediately, the chances of the NBA scrapping the line would have been higher, and the problems the league had would have continued to bleed into their pockets. Without a doubt, Ford's shot saved the modern NBA. Now that we're done talking about Chris Ford's shot, I'd like to hear from y'all. If the NBA did scrap the three-point line in 1980, which modern superstar's career would be the most affected? Is Steph Curry still a Hall of Famer without the triple? Put it down in the comment section below. Anyways, I'm some random Xander. This is it for the video, and remember guys, stay random. Goodbye.